Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh and you're joining us on NewsX World. Let's take a quick look at some of the top stories that we're tracking for you this hour. Military airstrikes have reportedly resumed in Myanmar as the death toll from a devastating 7.7 magnitude earthquake has risen to at least 1,644 in the country that has been facing a civil war since 2021. Rescue operations are ongoing in Myanmar and Bangkok, where around 50 people are still unaccounted for after a building collapse. Leaders from across the world have come out in support for Myanmar, pledging funds, aid and rescue teams to the devastated country. US President Donald Trump has vowed to support the nation despite cutting US aid, while Russia, China, India, New Zealand and South Korea are amongst the nations who have already sent support to Myanmar. More than 90 people are feared trapped under the rubble of a collapsed apartment building in Mandalay, Myanmar. The Red Cross has issued this warning as rescue operations continue. Myanmar's military council reports over 1,500 houses have been damaged in the area. Hundreds of thousands gathered in Istanbul for a massive anti-government rally demanding the defense of democracy after the arrest of Mayor Ekrem Imamoglu. The protest organised by the CHP opposition party took place under a clear sky in Maltepe on the eve of Eid al-Fitr. The first solar eclipse of 2025 has cast a stunning sight over parts of eastern Canada and Europe on Saturday. London saw nearly half the sun obscured, while Denmark's Romo Island and Spain's Canary Islands also witnessed the celestial event. This will be the only solar eclipse visible in Europe and North America this year. Denmark's foreign minister has slammed comments from J.D. Vance made during the vice president's visit to Greenland. US President Donald Trump has said the US needs Greenland for international security, while Putin appears to endorse the US over their comments on the Danish-ruled autonomous island. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said a new US draft minerals deal is entirely different to the previous version, requiring further assessment by lawyers. Meanwhile, Russian strikes in Dnipro have killed at least 4 people and injured 21 others. Israel has struck southern Beirut for the first time since the November Hezbollah ceasefire after rockets targeted Israel from Lebanon. Experts warn that the strikes risk escalating tensions in the region. The crisis in Myanmar continues to intensify, with the death toll now reaching 1,644. Additionally, 3,408 people have been injured and 139 individuals remain unaccounted for. In the latest updates on the Myanmar earthquake, Thai Prime Minister Petong Tharan Shinawatra has directed Defence Minister Phumtham Wechayachai to mobilize troops for rescue operations. A 49-member rescue team, including medical personnel, is all set to depart tomorrow aboard a Thai Air Force C-130. Meanwhile, in Mandalay, more than 90 people are still trapped under the rubble of the Sky Villa condominium. So far, 9 have been confirmed dead, with 44 successfully rescued, according to Red Cross officials. In a show of solidarity, King Charles III has expressed his deepest sympathy to the people of Myanmar during this difficult time. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations has pledged to offer humanitarian support to Myanmar and Thailand. Recognizing the urgent need for assistance, ASEAN is coordinating efforts amongst its 10-member countries. International support is also flooding in, with China sending a rescue team to Yangon. Other nations, including Russia, India, Malaysia and Singapore, are dispatching relief supplies and personnel. India's Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar has confirmed that more aid would be sent, while South Korea has pledged $2 million in humanitarian assistance. The United States has also confirmed its support. The Chinese government has committed 100 million yuan in emergency aid for Myanmar, which includes 2 rescue teams and essential supplies such as tents, blankets and medical kits. Well, we're getting now some breaking updates coming in on the broadcast. A devastating earthquake has struck Myanmar in March 2025, marking the strongest tremor in over 100 years. According to the US Geological Survey, the last earthquake of comparable magnitude occurred in 1912 in Tongyi, east central Myanmar. The US Geological Survey has estimated that the death toll could exceed 10,000. More breaking news meanwhile coming in now. The Myanmar military continues airstrikes in emergency declared areas, including Changgu Township in Sagyang, near the earthquake's epicenter. The People's Defence Forces report ongoing attacks with recent airstrikes in southern Shan State and Karenni. Meanwhile, further news coming in. The air traffic control tower at Naypyidaw International Airport has collapsed following Myanmar's powerful earthquake. Satellite images analyzed by the Associated Press confirm the destruction. Caritas Australia reports that all staff on duty were killed. So these, of course, are the bigger updates coming in. Where disturbing reports have come in that the Naypyidaw airport tower collapsed after the earthquake. In fact, reports also are saying that all staff who were, of course, on duty have now been killed. Well, this is a satellite image, of course, of that tower. You can see, of course, unfortunately, it collapsed after the ATC tower there, the airport tower, which obviously controls flight operations, collapsed after that earthquake. And in fact, what we're learning now in the latest update is that all staff on duty have also been killed, unfortunately, in this tragedy at the Naypyidaw airport. Remember, this is all a fallout of the earthquake, the devastating earthquake which struck Myanmar. You can see there that image of the tower collapsing. And what we're learning, unfortunately, is all officials on duty have died as a result of this tragedy. More breaking news now coming in. A woman has been pulled alive from the rubble of a collapsed apartment building in Mandalay, Myanmar, 30 hours after the devastating earthquake. Phu La Kang, a mother of two, was rescued from the wreckage of Sky Villa condominium and rushed to the hospital. Her husband, overwhelmed with relief, said he never expected her to survive. Rescuers believe over 90 people may still be trapped beneath the debris. So what we're learning is that a woman now has been rescued miraculously from this building under the rubble. She's been rushed to hospital. This is, of course, good news. Some reassuring news. A survivor has been rescued. These are the latest visuals now emerging from that spot in the condominium collapse, of course, there in Myanmar. We're learning, of course, that now a woman has been pulled alive from that spot of the tragedy. The wreckage of the Sky Villa condominium is, of course, being rummaged through by aid workers. You can see there, these are these visuals, of course, of obviously a very distressed woman, but thankfully a woman who is alive. She's been pulled out to safety from under the debris. In fact, that's what rescuers believe, that over 90 people may still be trapped beneath the debris. Some of them could be alive, which is why workers continue their operations of rescue and relief. These are visuals of a survivor pulled out from that Mandalay building collapse. More breaking news meanwhile coming in. At least 10 people have died and dozens are injured in Bangkok following the devastating earthquake, according to city officials. The Bangkok Municipality Authority has reported 42 wounded and 78 still missing. Meanwhile, Myanmar's military leadership has updated the death toll to 1,644. Rescue efforts continue as authorities search for survivors. More breaking developments coming in this hour. India's NDRF team is the first to arrive in Myanmar for rescue operations. A C-130 aircraft has landed in Naypyidaw. Despite the airport's partial non-operation, the team will depart for Mandalay tomorrow, becoming the first responders there. XP Division has, of course, reported this news. More news coming in this hour. A powerful earthquake in Myanmar has struck mosques as minority Muslims gathered for Ramadan prayers. The Shadow National Unity Government has reported that over 50 mosques have been damaged. Rescue efforts are underway as communities assess the total impact of the quake. So not just monasteries, but mosques also affected by the earthquake, damaged as a result of this tragedy. Mint Kyo, former Joint Secretary, Myanmar Press Council, is joining us now live on the broadcast. Mint Kyo, thank you for speaking with us. Disturbing news, of course, continue to come in from Myanmar. More tragedy reports, of course, emerging, but amidst this, a glimmer of hope. one woman survivor coming out from that condominium which has collapsed in Mandalay. Obviously, rescue operations are continuing in full earnest there.
Yes, the rescue operation continue, but I think not enough. The machinery and stuff, and the technicians or the expert. So the Mandalay, the most hit area of the Myanmar, the central capital and central cities of the cultural city of the Myanmar. So the most hated the city, 1.5 million population city, still in not having the electricity, the telecommunication cut off, and then the people didn't get the water, the shelter. So these are very tragic situations in Myanmar.
Right, Mint, I also have to ask you about, what reports you are getting. Where is the most devastation happened? Have people been able to assess the entire impact, or do you believe that the death toll will continue to rise in the next few days?
Yes, I think that the death toll will rise continuously because of the Mandalay, the most devastated cities is the Mandalay. The second is the Naypyidaw, the administrated the capital Naypyidaw, and the other cities are the near the Mandalay region, the Sakai, Chause, these are around the Mandalay region. These cities also devastated. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Also, Mint, I have to ask you about, the aid now. Obviously, this is reassuring news for Myanmar. The fact that India has sent aid under Operation Brahma, that aircraft has landed, I believe, already in Yangon. Meanwhile, other countries also sending aid and assistance to Myanmar at this dire time.
Yes, and it is very grateful to the international community, the government, and the international government. Yes, and Myanmar needed aid assistance more than the other country because of we are in the civil war. Then the infrastructure is not properly worked, and then also. And we are in the divided country, the opposition, the armed group, and the military junta. So how will deal with these, the natural disasters, the earthquake, and to the evacuations or and the rehabilitations, or these are currently the question. There is no answer yet.
Right. Also, Mint, the fact, of course, is that we are learning that many of your cultural, sites have also been damaged as a result of this quake. Many mosques have been damaged where people had gone for Friday prayers. Many monasteries have been destroyed as well. Pagodas. Also, your former royal palace has, borne the brunt of this earthquake. Also, a big bridge, a famous bridge in Mandalay, also collapsing.
Yes, that's true. That's correct. And the Mandalay is our cultural city, the last kingdom, the capital, and then there is the big monastery, and then the Muslim community, the mosques, a lot of mosques, and then also the other cultural the heritage. Now these are a lot of damage and some are collapsed, and then also these and the bridge across the Ayeyarwady River. These are the older one, and then now already collapsed. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that story, and stay safe. President of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has announced that a new U.S. proposal granting Ukraine access to critical minerals differs significantly from an earlier draft. Speaking at a press briefing in Kyiv, Zelensky revealed that the new framework formally submitted to his office would be compared with previous discussions involving Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Svirdenko and U.S. officials. He emphasized that the framework had changed and Ukraine would review it before proceeding with further talks. Additionally, Zelensky reiterated Ukraine's stance that previously approved U.S. military aid should not be considered loans requiring repayment, despite the country's gratitude for the support. This statement comes amidst tensions with Washington following a rift with President Trump, which led to a suspension of U.S. military assistance and intelligence sharing. This is what the Ukrainian president said.
Документ. Там багато всього, про що не йшлося. А також з'явились деякі речі, які, ну, скажімо так, раніше сторони відкидували вже. Так? І тому цей документ, я не хочу, ви знаєте, так, піднімати нову хвилю, тому що я дуже хочу, щоб ми отримали конкретну рецензію юристів на найвищому рівні.
Daniel Wagner, CEO of Country Risk Solution, is joining us live from Colorado, United States of America. Thank you for being with us, Daniel. It seems that the minerals deal between the U.S. and Ukraine has hit a new roadblock.
Indeed, it has. And I think the biggest issue here is that the goalposts seem to be constantly shifting. Zelensky thought he had a deal, certainly in principle, with the White House a week or so ago. And now it appears that when they're getting down to the nitty-gritty, the Americans want to change the terms a little bit, and that's not so attractive to Zelensky and Ukraine. One of the concerns here is how acceding to American requests or demands would affect its relationship with other countries, most notably in the EU. We should bear in mind that Ukraine prizes its relationships with the EU countries as much as it does the US, maybe even more, because of its proximity and its hope to join the EU sooner rather than later. One question then is, what impact would this deal have on that? This would be in direct competition with EU nations who perhaps may also seek access to those minerals. It may also impact the perception that the US is being favored over the EU in political and economic terms, and that creates more competition between the US and the EU. So it's a multifaceted issue, and I don't know if the Americans have paid sufficient attention to all of that, but it certainly adds a lot more pressure to Zelensky.
Absolutely. What do you believe it is about this redrafted agreement that Ukraine is upset about or not happy about, which is why they're saying their lawyers are reassessing things?
Well, I don't blame them. I mean, it's like if you were engaging in a business transaction and the goalpost was constantly shifting, how would you feel? You'd begin to wonder if you even want to do business with those people. So that's the basic issue. I think the real concern here is just how much can Ukraine afford to give. One of the concerns also is that it already derives more than $1 billion a year in its annual budget from rental agreements being granted already to other entities who are utilizing its minerals or extracting its minerals. So what impact would this have on them? I think the Ukrainians must be feeling like their arm is being twisted behind their back by the Americans to the breaking point, and it's getting close to breaking. So they're not going to be able to say yes to everything that America is asking for now.
Okay. Let me also ask you, Daniel, about what kind of impact all of this is going to have on the mediation efforts, the efforts to bring about a truce between Russia and Ukraine by the US.
Again, this is part of the whole equation and part of the pressure being put on the Ukrainians by the Americans. Zelensky needs to have some degree of confidence that the Americans are indeed behind him, that the funds are going to continue, that the military equipment is going to continue until and unless there's a peace agreement. And if this goalpost is constantly shifting and the Americans are constantly asking for new things and more things, how much confidence can he have? If he doesn't have confidence, how does he go into the peace negotiation with any degree of confidence? He doesn't. And in the meantime, we know that Mr. Putin is continuing to add additional pressure into the equation, and he doesn't seem too eager to go into peace negotiations to begin with. He's certainly not in a hurry. So I hope there's a happy equilibrium to be achieved here, wherein the Americans get what they want, Ukraine gets what it needs, and Putin feels like it's the right time to go to the table for a serious discussion.
When do you believe this deal could be signed then, Daniel?
You know, the truth is no one knows. I would hope it would be in April. I think that would be the soonest. It's certainly not going to be in the next few days. I wouldn't be surprised if this drags on. I mean, if the Trump administration continues to change the terms of the proposed agreement, this could go on for quite some time.
Daniel Wagner, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that big story. We're moving on now. Rescue efforts at the collapsed building in Bangkok remain painfully slow. In Thailand, a rescue worker on site tells us no bodies have been found, contradicting earlier reports. Robots are now being used to search unstable basement areas as part of the debris continues to collapse. Officials warn that the pancake-style collapse is making heavy machinery unsafe to use. So robots now and robotic equipment being used by rescue workers, who of course are trying to cut through the mangled heap that is now that under construction building in Bangkok to look for survivors. Many construction workers feared to be trapped beneath the debris there in Bangkok, and now we're learning that robots are being used to search unstable basement areas as parts of the debris continue to collapse. Well, the pancake-style collapse reportedly has made it very difficult for heavy machinery to be used, and that is what is making the rescue so complicated. We're learning that, in fact, that is happening, that rescue operation pace is very, very painfully slow. In fact, a rescue worker says on site that no bodies have been found yet. And that's all the time we have for on this particular edition of World Report. We will continue to bring you more news and updates from around the world on NewsX World. Stay tuned.